All right. Oh yes, we here for the Showtime PBC production of Gary Russell Jr. versus Mark Magsayo. All right, so it's been a while since we've seen Gary Russell Jr. in the ring. Both fighters are actually getting ready to make the ring walks in a minute, but we haven't seen Gary Russell in the ring about 2 years. I want to say it was late 2019 the last time we seen Gary Russell Jr. And I myself had the privilege of actually watching Mark Magsayo. He fought on the undercard of Ugas and Pacquiao. We went to that fight. Magsayo had arguably the knockout of the year last year. I believe he was fighting Seha. Don't fact check me on that, but you can fact check me, matter of fact. I believe it was Seha. And it was an incredible knockout. We got Gary Russell Jr. You know, he's known for, they say he has the fastest hands in boxing, and I've watched him numerous occasions, and I can actually say he has pretty fast hands. But you know, speed doesn't always win a fight. You know, it's a good attribute to have, but what kills speed is good timing. And Mark Magsayo definitely has great timing. So, you know, it's about who can impose their will at the same time. But I took, if you watch the weigh-ins, Gary Russell Jr., he missed weight. He was a half a pound overweight. So, you know, I like to think he was struggling to make weight. He looked drained. And Magsayo, at the weigh-ins, he exuded a confidence of a champion. You know, and my pick for this fight, I'm actually taking, before the fight starts, I'm going to take Mark Magsayo to win the fight in between rounds 7 and 12. And that's basically how I bet. I bet 7 through 9 individually, and then I bet 10 through 12 individually. You know, I group them. And also I made a cover my ass bet. I took Magsayo at after 12. So if Magsayo knocks Gary Russell Jr. out in between rounds 7 and 12, we win. And if Magsayo wins a decision after 12. If Gary Russell Jr. wins, we lose. Or Magsayo sparks him in between 1 and 6, we lose. So Gary Russell Jr., his last fight, you know, if you watch Gary Russell Jr. last fight, he fought pretty well. But towards the end of that fight, you can see those legs, you know, that he looked a little bit tired. He threw a lot of punches really fast, but he's not the most accurate, you know. And like I said, we got Gary Russell Jr. coming off a layoff. It's going to be some ring rust there. Undoubtedly so. I've been watching boxing a long time, and I'd be very surprised if it doesn't take Gary Russell Jr. a few rounds to get into this fight. Here comes Russell. Russell's walking out. Magsayo has already entered the ring. Russell's coming out. And he looks ready. He looks ready, man. Focused as usual. Gary Russell Jr. is really focused. But the way he was talking, even at the press conference, you know, and that doesn't mean nothing, but he didn't sound like the most confident fighter. He used the word if a lot. And every fight is different. And supposedly Gary Russell Jr. has an undisclosed injury, which, you know, he came out and said earlier this week. And, you know, some people might look at that as making excuses, but I'd rather him say that before the fight than after the fight. We've seen what happens when fighters say they have an injury afterwards, after they take a loss. Manny Pacquiao with Floyd, Manny said the shoulder was hurt. You know, regardless of if it was an excuse or not, you know, he's supposed to disclose that information. Lomachenko, after the Teofimo fight. You know, so he came out, Gary Russell Jr. came out and actually made that statement ahead of this fight. Gary Russell Jr. is the longest reigning WBC champion, title holder. And this is a championship matchup. Both of these fighters are, well, no. Gary Russell Jr. has one loss. He lost to Loma. He lost to Lomachenko. And man, Lomachenko is amazing. I want to say he fought Gary Russell Jr. really early in his career. Second or third fight, I believe. Gary Russell pacing in his corner. Gary Russell Jr. is in the blue corner. Seha's in the red corner. Tell of the tape. Gary Russell Jr. is 33. Magsayo is 26. Magsayo has a 2-inch reach advantage. Height advantage, I'm sorry. It's 5'6.5". Gary Russell Jr. is 5'4.5". Both fighters weighed in at 125.5 pounds. And they're getting ready to kick it off. So let's see what we got going. You know, I think Gary starts off slow, comes on strong, and maybe fades towards. I think he's going to give. We'll see. I think he gives away the first 4 rounds. Probably Gary Russell Jr. should win, but he's not. I don't think he's going to win these rounds. I think they split 2-2. And the later this fight progresses, I believe, the more the chances go in favor of Mark Magsayo. Mark Magsayo, man, he's looking real confident, real calm, real relaxed. Gary Russell Jr., he's talking to the crowd, fist pumping. Russell Jr. looks focused. Man, I might have lost my money, huh? Shit. Let's see. I think Magsayo's gonna pull it off, but it's gonna be a fight, man. Jimmy Lennon Jr., man. I love Jimmy Lennon Jr. Best ring announcer ever. I mean, his father was nice. Michael Buffer was, you know, he's nice. He's the most famous. But it's something classy about Jimmy Lennon Jr. Love to hear him call a fight. Can't listen to it, though, because we're calling the fight tonight. Mark Magsayo, Los Angeles, California. 23-0 with 16 knockouts. Like I was saying earlier, he has incredible timing. Good power, incredible timing. So, you know, neither one of... Mark Magsayo does not know how to lose, and Gary Russell Jr. lost to Lomachenko, which is very, very respectable. Magsayo looks ready. He looks ready. And they say a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. He looks real happy, man. I heard him say that he had a great camp, which fighters always say. I mean, he looked like he had a great camp, and that he was able to eat the night before the fight. He was already on weight. I don't know if Gary Russell Jr. just had a great camp. You know, if I had to say it couldn't have been that great if he was struggling to make weight the day of weigh-ins. So, you know, we will see. There he is. And Gary Russell Jr., his family, you know, all those boys fight, man, and they all named Gary Russell. They got an Antoine, and not all of them named Gary Russell, but there's a lot of Gary Russell Jr.'s, man. They brothers, and their father had to have an amputation. And Gary Russell Jr. was going through a lot, but he looks really focused. He looks mad. All right, they're clearing out the ring. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Gary Russell Jr., of course, you know, is a southpaw. Waiting on the opening bell. All right, opening bell. Gary Russell Jr. comes out, jab to the body. Feints that left hand as he comes in. All right, Magsayo, noticeably bigger than Gary Russell Jr. Just body frame wise. So Gary's going to have to really use his feet to be in and out. Oh, Magsayo comes in with a 1-2. Gary Russell Jr. slips the 1. Gary Russell Jr. throws a 2. He didn't hit anything. Good body shot by Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr. throws a 2 down the pipe. Magsayo returns with a 2-3. Good jab, Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr. doing a good job of being up and down. Ooh, Magsayo threw an uppercut. Man. Nice and tight. Gary Russell Jr. got to be careful when he's coming in with that jab. You see Magsayo trying to counter with a right uppercut. Gary Russell Jr. with a good left hand straight down the pipe. Gary Russell Jr.'s feinting. Good body shot by Magsayo. That right hook to the body is landing. Good jab. Magsayo, good jab. Gary Russell Jr. shooting the jab. Good 2 by Gary Russell Jr. Good left hook to the body by Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr. He's throwing, his hands are fast, but like I said, he's not touching Magsayo. He hasn't hit him too flush yet. Couple points, good body shot by Gary Russell Jr. coming out of the clinch. Good jab by Gary Russell. Magsayo throws a 2-3. Gary Russell catches the 2. Magsayo's controlling the center of the ring. Gary Russell Jr., but it's not like Gary Russell Jr. is uncomfortable. He's fighting on the outskirts of the ring and stepping in with his punches. But it looks like Magsayo is just trying to time him coming in. Magsayo's not really pressing forward. Oh, good 1-2 down the pipe. Good 2. Looked like he staggered Gary Russell for a second. I don't think he was hurt. Hard shot by Magsayo though. Good 2 by Gary Russell Jr. Magsayo's comfortable just sitting right there in the pocket, and as Gary Russell Jr. comes in, he bags up, and he's trying to time him with a big shot. Russell knows it too. I got that round from Magsayo. 1-0 Magsayo. 10-9. I scored that round 10-9. Walk Magsayo. Like I said, little ring rust. I expected that from Gary Russell coming into this fight. He hasn't been in the ring in 2 years. You know, and sparring is one thing, but when the lights come on, it's another. Oh, they show Gary Russell Jr. with good defense. He actually picked up Magsayo at the very beginning of that round after he slipped under Magsayo's jab. Oh, good uppercut. Magsayo landed an uppercut to Gary Russell Jr.'s chest. Good shot. Good hard shot. It got Gary Russell Jr.'s attention too. All right, we're getting ready for round 2. All right. Bell's wrong. Good jab to the body. Good 1-2, Magsayo. Magsayo's landed 4 punches unanswered coming out into the second round. Another good left hook. Good jab. And 3 to the body by Gary Russell Jr. Good jab by Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell Jr. is now pressing the action. He's controlling the center of the ring, and Mark Magsayo is, good uppercut by Magsayo. Got Gary Russell Jr.'s attention again. He was a little off balance. Gary Russell Jr. fires a jab, he doesn't hit. Magsayo's fainting. Oh, he threw it hard too. Gary Russell Jr. ducked right under it. Oh, good check hook by Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr. He doesn't look as fast as he normally looks. Oh, good 2 by Magsayo. Russell Jr. pivots out. Oh, good defense. Russell Jr. swimming without getting wet. Oh, Russell Jr. starting to actually get himself back. Oh, he looks good. Man, that good defense. Magsayo's pumping that jab. Gary Russell Jr. swimming and not getting wet. Good uppercut to the body. Good left hand by Magsayo. You can see Gary Russell getting his grip back under him. He's in the fight. I thought they split these first 4 rounds. I got Magsayo up after the first round. 1 minute and 9 seconds left in the second. All right, Gary Russell Jr. looking better on defense. A lot more head movement, a lot more bending at the waist, changing levels. I still got Magsayo winning this round. Gary Russell Jr. is not letting his hands go. He's having a hard time closing the gap. Magsayo is jabbing and moving back. Oh, long hook missed by Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr., you're not going to be able to pop shot him. You're going to have to fight Magsayo. And he's having a hard time getting in right now. Every time he comes in, he gets hit. Magsayo hit him with a hard 2. Gary Russell shook his head yes. Acknowledging the shot. Good shot by Magsayo. Oh, good left hand. Good left hand by Gary Russell Jr. Straight down the pipe. Good jab by Gary Russell Jr. Good jab to body Magsayo. Good 2 by Magsayo. That's round 2. I got Magsayo winning round 2. Better round for Gary Russell Jr. though. Gary Russell Jr. defense, you can see him getting back into his rhythm and maybe starting to feel Magsayo out a bit, catch the timing. But he's taking shots and he's having a hard time getting in. Gary has to let his combinations flow. You know, and part of that is the ring rust. He's not throwing as many punches. He looks like he's second guessing sometimes coming in. I guess that happens when you keep getting hit with hard right hands. Magsayo looks real calm and relaxed. He says Manny Pacquiao is his idol. And of course he's trained by the legendary Freddie Roach Magsayo, that is. Good 1-2 by Magsayo. Magsayo is the more active fighter, punch-wise. Oh, good body shot by Magsayo. Good left hook to the body. That Gary Russell is now coming forward. Good right hook to the body by Magsayo. He is a body snatcher. Gary Russell comes in really aggressive, throwing the left hand a few times. Magsayo looking real relaxed, man. Oh, good uppercut by Magsayo. Good left hook by Magsayo. Magsayo swings wild and Gary Russell Jr. ducks. Oh. Good 2-2-3 combination coming from Magsayo. Gary Russell hesitant to come in. He's going to have to get in if he's going to land anything. Gary Russell Jr. is not throwing punches. Oh, he shoots a hard one and gets hit twice to the body, really, really hard. Magsayo is working Gary Russell Jr.'s body. He's putting in good body work. Good body shot by Gary Russell. Good two from Gary Russell Jr. He's just not throwing enough punches. It's simple as that. Good jab by Gary Russell Jr. Right over the top of Magsayo's jab. Of course, Gary Russell Jr. is a southpaw. He shoots his counter jab over the right-handed fighter Magsayo's jab. Oh man, good pull counter by Gary Russell Jr. Good shot to the body by Gary Russell Jr. A minute left in this round. He's starting to be a little bit more accurate with his shots, and he's getting a little bit more busier. All right, Magsayo picks Gary Russell Jr. up. Both fighters are able to lift 125 pounds for sure. So let's see what's going on. Gary Russell Jr. good defense. Oh, good left hand by Gary Russell Jr. Good jab to the body, Gary Russell Jr. Good jab to the body, Gary Russell Jr. Oh, good left hand right on top of the chin, Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell Jr. is coming on. All right, that's the end of round 3. That is a Gary Russell Jr. round. Man, we got a good fight going. I got this fight 29-28 after 3. In favor of Mark Magsayo. 29-28. Mark Magsayo after 3. All right, they're doing an interview with Cold Boy Stephen Fulton. I think they call that cat Cold Boy Steph. Yeah, man, he's fighting really well. His last few outings, Stephen Fulton looked really, really good. All right, round 4 started. Magsayo comes out. Really aggressive. Gary Russell Jr. is ducking below the belt line. You very seldomly see that called in boxing. But you're not supposed to dip lower than the belt line. A lot of fighters might not be in shape to do it. But Gary Russell Jr. just went below the belt line. Oh, Magsayo is pouring it on. But he's not really landing. He's throwing hard shots, good shots to the body. But Gary Russell Jr. is taking them well. Gary Russell Jr. is on the outskirts. He's looking to counter with his pull too. When Magsayo throws his right hand, Gary Russell Jr. steps back and throws his left hand right over the top. Good body shot by Magsayo. Magsayo is the aggressor this round. He's controlling the center ring. Got Gary Russell on the outskirts. Good left hand by Gary Russell Jr. Good left hand by Gary Russell Jr. Magsayo's cutting the ring off. He's keeping Gary Russell Jr. in his corner. But it's not an inside fight. He's just shortening the ring. Good jab, Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr. missed a wild hook to the body. Magsayo just steps back. Oh, good left hand by Magsayo. Good left hand return to the head by Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell Jr., that was a good shot. He hit Magsayo with. Magsayo. I wanted to say Mayorga earlier. Oh, Gary Russell doubled up on the left hand, the 2. Pop, pop. He's starting to time Magsayo. I was talking about Magsayo timing him. Gary Russell Jr. in his fourth round is pretty damn accurate. Good shot. Good shot, Gary Russell Jr. He's starting to make Magsayo think about coming in. Good shot, Gary Russell. Oh, Gary Russell with 3 hard, straight lefts. My goodness. That's a long punch to get there to get hit 3 times with. Gary Russell has some fast hands. Man, that was impressive. He faced Magsayo. Magsayo got Gary Russell on the ropes. He needs to be throwing more punches. Gary Russell Jr. is winning this round. All right, I got Gary Russell Jr. winning that round. After 4 rounds, Boxing Club has the scorecard 38-38. This fight is dead even, and that's what I said. I said before this fight started, I said after 4 rounds, I thought this fight would be dead even. I thought Gary Russell would start getting his timing right about now. They're working on the shoulder. Gary Russell Jr. has an injury. He's hurting. He's hurting. The doctor had to see him. He looks like he's in a little pain in the corner. Doctor's talking to the ref. Gary Russell Jr. with some incredible work. I think it's his right. Oh, it's his shoulder. His shoulder replay. He jabbed. He hurt his shoulder. Oh, wincing in pain. Gary Russell Jr. hurt his jab hand. Let's see what happened. The shit it was the backhand that was catching Magsayo anyway. Magsayo, oh man, he missed so bad. He turned all the way around. His back was to Gary Russell. He missed. That was a wild punch. Oh, Gary Russell Jr. with a straight 2 down the pipe. Magsayo 2 good body shots. Magsayo's coming on a little bit. He's closing that gap. He's getting hit to come in and hit Gary Russell with 2. He's trying to impose his will. But Gary Russell Jr. is throwing. He's throwing that too. He hasn't been jabbing as much. He's putting that jab out there, but he's not throwing the jab. And obviously that's because he was just hurt in the last round. We'll see if this has any effect going into the later rounds of this fight. Both fighters throwing and missing. Gary Russell Jr. with a good 2. Magsayo missing. Good shot by Gary Russell Jr. Good 2. All he's throwing is that straight. Magsayo cannot stop that too. He keeps getting hit. He keeps getting hit by that straight left hand coming from Gary Russell. I mean, he's hit him with at least 5 straight. 6, 7. Gary Russell Jr. is beating him with one hand right now. One hand. One hand. He's just timing that back hand. Magsayo looks frustrated. And right now, this is where the championship experience is coming in. Gary Russell is looking good. He's fighting. He's talking to Magsayo. He's talking. Good body shot. Good shot up top by Gary Russell Jr. Oh, Gary Russell Jr. throws the right hand 3 times. Down the pipe. He threw a hook and right back down the pipe. 2-3-2. I'm sorry, 2-4-2. Beautiful combination. He turns Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr. is winning this round. 25 seconds left in round 5. Oh, good body shots by Magsayo. 2 hard body shots. Oh, Magsayo. Nice 3-punch combination. Pushes Gary Russell to the floor. Magsayo going for that knockout, man. Man, he threw a right hand from the balcony. Oh man, that was a swing round, but I got to give that one to Gary Russell Jr. But that round could have went either way. I'm gonna go Gary Russell Jr. that round. I got the fight 48-37. Gary Russell Jr. after 5 rounds. Gary Russell Jr. is off his stool really quick. Magsayo's ready. He's off his stool as well. All right, start around 6. Gary Russell Jr. lands two left hands straight down the pipe. He's throwing that too, straight down the pipe. Good 2-3 by Magsayo. Magsayo, good 3-4 punch combination. Good shot to the body, Magsayo. Oh, good 2-3-2. Magsayo coming back with a jab. Man. That was a 4-5 punch combination landed by Magsayo. He's starting this round off strong. Gary Russell Jr. is on the outskirts of the ring. Magsayo's controlling the center. Gary Russell Jr. moves in on Magsayo, but he hits nothing but fresh air. All right, 1 minute down in the 6th round. Gary Russell Jr. misses a left hand, but he comes out of the corner. He swings without getting wet. Magsayo threw, oh, good 1-2 down the pipe by Gary Russell Jr. They trade body shots. Oh, good left hook by Magsayo. Good 2-3 by Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr. throws the 2. Magsayo catches Mark Magsayo threw the 2 straight down the pipe. He touched Gary Russell Jr. Good shot by Magsayo. Magsayo's winning this round. 1:20 left in the round. Jab. Gary Russell Jr. throws his 2 down the pipe and lands it. He throws it again, but he gets hit with one right back. Magsayo needs good footwork by Gary Russell Jr. Oh, Magsayo, hard body shot, and he slips under Gary Russell's 3, his right hook. Oh, Gary Russell Jr. with a nice straight left down the pipe. He's throwing that left hand so fast. Still haven't seen. I've seen him throw that jab hand hard once. Good one too. That was a good one too right there. That was the second time. But it wasn't as hard as he was throwing it early in the fight. Both fighters missed. Magsayo's he's lunging in, and his head he's leaning in a little too much. Gary Russell Jr. can time with an uppercut. It's there when Magsayo comes in. Magsayo standing straight up. He needs to be a little bit more up and down. Magsayo. He's slowing down, but that's a Magsayo round. Magsayo won that round. Gary Russell Jr. came on late, but it wasn't enough. After 6, that's going to be 57-57. We got a good fight going. Magsayo started early in that round. He hit Gary Russell Jr. with a very nice combination to start that round. Oh man, good uppercut by Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr., he's ducking really low. When he's slipping those punches, he's coming in really, really low. Magsayo picked his head up with a nice uppercut that last round. Start around 7. I got this fight 58-58. I'm going in around 7. We got a tie fight. 3 rounds of 3. They trade body shots. Oh, good too. Magsayo's been aggressive again. Gary Russell Jr. has his hands down. Oh, good counter by Gary Russell Jr. Oh, Gary Russell Jr. just hit him with 3 right hands. I'm sorry, 3 left hands. Straight down the pipe. Gary Russell Jr., incredible hand speed. He's beating him with 1 hand. Good body shot with Gary Russell Jr. Walking side, good jab. The scorecards, they have it 57-57 as well. Good 1-2 by Magsayo. Gary Russell looks like the calmer fighter. Gary Russell Jr. is the calmer fighter right now. Good 2 stiff jabs by Magsayo. Oh, Magsayo hit him with a hard right hand right over the top of Gary Russell Jr.'s shoulder. Gary Russell took it. 36 seconds left in round 7. This is Magsayo round. Oh, good body shot by Magsayo. Gary Russell feigning changing levels but not throwing anything. Magsayo was just a busier fighter in this round. Maybe Gary Russell taking this round off. We'll see how he comes out next round. But he was not busy at all this round. Oh, good 2. Good counter. He's sitting back countering. But he was never the aggressor in that round. Next weekend they got this not next weekend. February 26th they got Chris Colbert and Gutierrez will be fighting. They're showing Gary Russell Jr.'s brothers and the father. And they all on the edge of their seat. It's a good fight, man. That was a Magsayo round, undoubtedly. $67-66, Magsayo. Magsayo starting strong this round. Oh, Magsayo is getting busy. He's just a busier fighter, so he's naturally landing more. Gary Russell Jr. is landing clean. Gary Russell Jr. is landing the cleaner blows in this bout, but it's just not enough. The volume of punches. Oh, good body shot by Gary Russell Jr. He's picking his shots. He's really accurate. He's just not letting them go enough. We'll see how he comes out this round. He might have took last round off. And he has to get busy this round. They trade twos. So far on the back end of this fight, Gary Russell Jr. does not look like he's losing legs at all. He's still moving good around the ring. Magsayo is the busier fighter. They're showing the unofficial scorecards. I mean, we have it the exact same. 67-66 for Magsayo. Good too. Gary Russell Jr. is, man, he's fighting with one arm. I don't think I've seen Gary Russell Jr. throw a left hook since that round where he hurt his shoulder. And he's not really throwing a jab. Good action. Both fighters are swinging. Both fighters swinging. Nobody really hitting anything. There's a chess match going on. Chess match going on this round, which favors Gary Russell Jr. in my opinion. I believe Mark Magsayo needs to put more pressure on Gary Russell Jr. Now, he's walking Gary Russell Jr. down, but he'll get there and just be at a standstill. And they'll sit there and jolt for position towards the end of that round. I do give that round to Mark Magsayo, which is going to make that 77-75. Mark Magsayo after 8. I got it 77-75. Mark Magsayo after 8. Gary Russell Jr.'s face swelling. A little face swelling. They got the ice pack on them right now. Good body shot right on the bell line, but he ate a shot. Gary Russell Jr. threw his backhand to the body in round 8. And he landed, but he got hit with a right hand over the top. Which is good training from Magsayo and Freddie Roach on how to fight a southpaw. Good counter, sneaky counter by Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr. threw 4 punches in 2 seconds with a 1.5-second pause in between them. Wow. Oh my goodness. He hit him with a 2 that he didn't even see. Gary Russell Jr. is making Magsayo miss and look drunk in the ring right now. Magsayo good 2-3. Magsayo got to get a little bit more busy. Let's see. Let's see. I got Magsayo up 2 rounds. Gary Russell Jr. has to win this round pretty impressively. He can't go down by 3 rounds going into round 10. We're in round 9 right now. Neither fighter really landed punches. Gary Russell is fighting off his back foot. Mark Magsayo walking him down, stalking him around the ring, and Gary Russell Jr. steps in with a nice 2, but gets countered back to the body. Good 1-2 by Gary Russell Jr. Minute 51 left. Good body shot by Magsayo. Minute 51 left in round 9. Gary Russell Jr. has some fast hands, man. I can't say it enough. Speed is incredible. But that injury has to be bothering him because the output of punches. He's not throwing as many punches, but whenever he can let that left hand go, he's letting it go. Good two by Gary Russell. Magsayo stalking him. Russell Jr. winning this round so far. We got 48 seconds left. Close round. Oh, good body shot with Magsayo. Whoever win these last 40 seconds win the round. Yeah, Russell almost trips. Magsayo stalking him. Neither fighter throwing punches. Good body shot on Magsayo. Good shot by Gary Russell Jr. Good body shot by Magsayo. Magsayo comes on strong. Last 10 seconds of this round. 3 seconds left. Hit him with a nice 3-punch combination. Good 2 by Gary Russell Jr. Oh, close round. That's a swing round. I'm going to give that one to Gary Russell Jr. I got Magsayo up by 1 round. $85-86 after 9 rounds. I got Mark Magsayo winning this fight so far through 9 rounds, 85-86. Let's see what happens. Gary Russell with a nice 2. Good body shot by Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr. has been landing that 2 consistently, but now Mark Magsayo is starting to counter that 2. Whenever Gary Russell throws it, Mark Magsayo is countering the 2 with his right hook to the body. Boom. Of course, Gary Russell is a southpaw. Keep that in mind. With the stances they're fighting in, when he throws that 2, Magsayo is slipping, boom, to the body. Or even if he gets hit, he's still letting it go to the body. He's scoring with Gary Russell Jr. They got it. Oh, man, they gave that round to Magsayo. It was a swing round. I'm not mad at it. The unofficial has Gary Russell Jr. down 84-87. I got it 86-85. They got it 84-87. Magsayo throws a good 2-3. Gary Russell fainting, not throwing nothing. He's just putting the jab hand out there and measuring that too, and he's hitting them every time. Magsayo didn't throw the left hook the right hook to the body that time off Gary Russell Jr.'s 2. Gary Russell is bagging up. He's on that back foot. He's fighting on that back foot coming forward. Good shot to the body by Gary Russell Jr. Good shot by Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell Jr. is picking his shots. He's not really putting his punches together this round. And really, he hasn't been putting his punches together the whole fight. Oh, Magsayo, good 2-3. 3 just grazed, but the 2 definitely landed. Good body shots by Magsayo. Man, he's ripping those body shots. Oh, he's ripping those body shots. Round 10. Oh, Magsayo misses a big left hook. No, neither one of the fighters. Magsayo misses a 1-2 down the pipe. Gary Russell throws his 2. Gary Russell Jr. shows great head movement at times. That's a mark Magsayo round. Mark Magsayo is dominating this fight. Even the rounds that Gary Russell Jr. won, those are swing rounds. Mark Magsayo is clearly, the rounds that he is winning, he's clearly winning the rounds. When Gary Russell Jr. wins his rounds, those are swing rounds. Mark Magsayo, it's getting to the point, Gary Russell Jr. needs a knockdown at least to get back in this fight. Depending on how you scoring it. What I saw from the unofficial card, and Magsayo definitely won that round. Gary Russell Jr. needs a knockout to win this fight. Or a knockdown. A knockdown will get him back in the fight. And he's just not active enough. He just ate 2 punches down the pipe to start the 11th. I got a 90. I got it 96, 94 after 10. They got it 93, 97. They got Magsayo winning rounds 6 through 10. That's the last 5 rounds. Magsayo is starting to pour it on. Gary Russell Jr. is just not as active. He looks. I'm gonna say it's because of the injury, maybe. But it could be a little bit of. He's not an old fighter, but he's not an active fighter, and he's had his moments in his fight, but Mark Magsayo was just the busier fighter. Magsayo, hard jab. Good shots. Good shots by Magsayo. Gary Russell, he's picking his shots, but like I said, he's just not busy enough. He's accurate with his shots, but he's throwing 1 punch for every 4 punches Magsayo is throwing. Magsayo. I call this man every name. That's okay, as long as he do what I need him to do for these tickets. Right, round 11. We got 33 seconds left in the round. Magsayo is the aggressor. Effective aggressiveness. And that's what's going on. That's really winning Magsayo this fight. Effective aggressiveness. Because it's not like all of his punches are landing. But he's just the busier fighter. And he's landing more because of that. Alright, we went to the last round. I thought round 11 was a Mark Magsayo round. Gary Russell Jr. needs a knockout to win this fight. He got to get a knockout. Otherwise, I'm going and cash out. I'm going cash out. I got them tickets right here. Let me see. This is my cousin Mickey McDaniel. This is his ticket. We in between rounds. I don't know if y'all can see that. We bet on Mark Magsayo. That's my cousin Mick ticket. He put in 50 to win 190. And where's my winning ticket? I made a few bets like I was telling y'all earlier. If it goes to decision, Oh yeah, start around 12. Here we go. Magsayo coming out strong. Gary Russell Jr. is effective aggressiveness. Gary Russell Jr. is just not letting his hands go. He needs a knockout, and it doesn't look like he's trying to get it. Good shot. He's just pop shotting Magsayo. Gary Russell Jr. is going to lose this fight. We're about to win. Oh, yes. Magsayo is cruising to victory. I mean, Gary Russell Jr., I give him, it got to be some of his injury, man. Gary Russell Jr., I give him 4 rounds in this fight. Magsayo, this round is good shot. Good body shot by Magsayo. Hard body shot. Gary Russell Jr. is raising his hands. I guess he's trying to convince the judges that he's winning this fight. One minute left in this fight. Gary Russell Jr. needs a knockout. Oh, good two by Gary Russell Jr. Right now in the pipe. Gary Russell getting busy with that one hand. It's the injury, man. He just wasn't busy enough. He wasn't busy. Magsayo wins this. 25 seconds left. Both fighters raised their hand. That's the end of the fight. Magsayo's family, they're happy with the Gary Russell family. They look dejected. They look like they know Gary Russell Jr. lost. Gary Russell Jr. fought a good fight. As far as, if he is injured, he fought a great fight, to say the least. He fought tough. Magsayo was the busier fighter, threw the harder shots. Gary Russell Jr., he had some effective punching and landed probably the more fluid shots, but Magsayo was just the busier fighter. Oh, good body shots. Body snatching. Oh my goodness. He hit Gary Russell with some good shots to the body. Good jab by Gary Russell Jr. They kind of showing, highlights. They showed the highlight when Gary Russell hurt himself. I think that was a pre-existing injury. It might have been an injury he was talking about. We're waiting on a decision. They going back over the fight. Mark Magsayo outlanded Gary Russell Jr. 203 punches to 64. Well, that's jabs. I'm sorry. He threw. Gary Russell Jr. only landed 64 jabs. Gary Russell Jr. didn't throw one jab after the 6th round. He didn't throw one jab after the 6th round. Mark Magsayo out-jabbed him 203 to 64. That is crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy. We're waiting on the official decision. Gary Russell Jr. doesn't have the demeanor of a winner, and he didn't win this fight. I mean, everybody knows it. Just hand on the belt. Just give him his belt. I hope we see Gary Russell Jr. back in top form. It's different, man. You know, and those injuries can come from inactivity too as a fighter. You haven't been active, man. You just jump back in the camp, and I mean, every fighter comes into the fight probably not 100%. You know, but that's what they are. They're warriors. They're warriors. And Gary Russell Jr. just showed a heart of a lion in his ring, but you know, he fought this fight with one hand. He didn't throw one jab after the 6th round. Look, he ain't gonna win. He ain't throwing a jab. Wait on the official decision. Magsayo looking confident. Gary Russell Jr. got his hand raised. Mark Magsayo wins by decision. Man. You know, I can't even just call it an upset. It's an upset. But I told y'all, Mark Magsayo was going to upset Gary Russell Jr. However it had to happen, I knew it was going to happen, man. Look, Gary Russell, a lot of ring rust, a lot of inactivity. First time in the ring, wasn't almost 2 years, if not 2 years, and he's fighting Mark Magsayo, an undefeated, hungry, well, champion now, but he was an undefeated, hungry contender. Man, obviously Gary Russell Jr., round 5, I believe it was, Gary Russell Jr. hurt his shoulder. He jabbed Mark Magsayo, and you can see him grimace in pain. And the rest of the fight, he did not throw another jab. Between rounds 6 and 12, Gary Russell Jr. didn't throw one jab. Mark Magsayo out-jabbed Gary Russell Jr. 203 to 64. Easy. Unanimous decision. Yeah, Mark Magsayo, he got the belt. He got the WBC hat. Man, you know, when here's my ticket. Here's my ticket. Right here. Oh, we got to get it in there. I told y'all, Magsayo was going to handle his business. I felt it, man. Gary Russell, he wasn't talking confident. Before the fight, I mean, he used the word "if" a lot when he was talking. Basically, you know, if I had to just give this fight a quick recap, it was more so Magsayo effective aggressiveness. He controlled the ring, controlled the center of the ring majority of the fight. He threw more punches naturally, but even before round 5, he was throwing more punches before Gary Russell Jr. Grimaced in pain like that. And I do believe that was a pre-existing injury that Gary Russell Jr. had. I believe he had a pre-existing injury coming into the fight. Gary Russell Jr., he put up a valiant effort. To say he was fighting with one hand, he hit Magnifico a lot with that backhand too. Showed good hand speed, but he didn't let his hands go. He didn't throw enough punches. He didn't throw a jab after the 6th round. That, it need I say more. Magsayo was the more aggressive fighter, cutting off the ring, letting his hands go. Wasn't always landing flush, but man, he dug some incredible shots to the body and had some pretty impressive uppercuts through the fight. Hopefully, you know, this might not be such a bad thing because we were only seeing Gary Russell Jr. once every blue moon. It's amazing he still had the belt and was never stripped. You know, I don't get into the politics of the why he still had the belt because I thought he deserved it. But I wanted to see him more as a fan of boxing. I like Gary Russell Jr. I wanted to see him more. And with him losing his belt, hopefully he fights a little bit more now. You know, and I do feel like Mark will defend that belt a little bit more than Gary Russell Jr. did. So, you know, it's a good thing to see a new champion in that weight division kind of shake things up a little bit. Gary Russell Jr.'s had that belt. Man, he's the longest reigning champion, WBC title holder. He's the longest reigning title holder they have. He had that belt a long time, but shit, he wouldn't fight neither. A lot of times there was a lot of inactive time in between there. So, yeah, back to the drawing board for Gary Russell Jr. I hope he heals up, gets himself together, and comes back stronger in this next fight. You know, hopefully they might run it back. You know, they're talking right now. I have to go back and listen because I have it on mute, being that we're doing this post-fight analysis. But yeah, my take on it was just effective aggressiveness by Mark Magsayo. It was that's what it was. Effective aggressiveness. Gary Russell Jr. pop shot at him, but you know he didn't do enough work, and that's pretty much all I got. You know, y'all be sure to like and subscribe. You know, it's much definitely appreciated. But we're gonna be signing off. Mark Magsayo has defeated Gary Russell Jr.